Angelina Jolie, no doubt about it, is a Hollywood superstar, but a new book out depicts her rise to fame as both troubled and tumultuous. Joining me right now is Andrew Morton, the author of Angelina. Andrew, this book getting a lot of buzz, specifically because it's an unauthorized biography, correct?
Well, specifically because it's an accurate and credible book with a lot of new revelations about Angelina that have captured the imagination of the world.
What was one of the most surprising revelations that you found out as you were penning this?
Well, quite frankly, I was shocked when I discovered that as a baby, Angelina was effectively abandoned by her mother and left in what the babysitters call this ivory tower, where she was cared for without her mother for the best part of a year. And that sense of abandonment has stayed with her. The reason why that happened was because John Voight left the family. He went off with another woman, and because Angie looked like her dad, her mother couldn't bear to look at her.
This book also has a lot of scoop about her teenage years as well, some of the drugs and sex. Take us through that. Certainly we always love the scandal when it comes to Hollywood superstars.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I talk about the fact that she was living with a guy age 14. She was cutting herself as a teenager. She was anorexic to the point where a psychiatrist said to her, either you start eating or you go into hospital. She was suffering from, well, never says suffering from, she had thoughts of suicide, to the point where she contacted a hitman and asked him to kill her, and could she pay by installments. That's how bizarre and whacked out her life became.
This plot almost seems too good to be true here. It almost sounds like a fiction book. At one point as well, Mick Jagger figures into her life. Her mother wanted her to marry Mick Jagger, and it turns out that he was one of her many suitors as well.
Absolutely. Mick Jagger was one of these carousel of lovers that she had during one point in her life. That was Ethan Hawke, Billy Bob Thornton, Johnny Lee Miller, who was then obviously married but separated from her, and Tim Hutton. And Mick Jagger was so obsessed with her that they were going to get married and live in a chateau in France. Her mother played Cupid, and she was going to live in the annex. And at one point, Angelina was going to adopt an American Indian child and call the baby Mick Jagger. Mick was astonished when he got to know about it.
Well, we can't talk about Angelina Jolie without talking about Brad Pitt as well. Give us kind of a historical perspective on where you feel he fits into this big picture. There's certainly been a lot of men in her life over the years.
Well, he's a man who came into her life when she was changing her life, when she was off drugs, when she had already adopted Maddox, her eldest child. She was presenting herself as sorted out. She was doing work for the United Nations. And then Brad comes along. He's unhappy in his marriage to Jennifer. He's a seeker, he's a restless individual, rather like Angelina, and the chemistry between them you could see on the set. Angie's camp have always said to me, he chased her, she didn't chase him, but Brad Pitt was always one of the guys that she was intrigued about. Well,
in a day and age with TMZ and others like it, you don't often find a lot of scoop out there, a lot of rocks that haven't been overturned, but in this case, it looks like you've done that. Andrew Morton, thanks so much for joining us. We also want to thank St. Martin's Press for providing today's satellite time. Once again, the book simply called Angelina.